In today's video, we're going to see that Norway is very much open for business. On this location map, we see the United Kingdom and Norway with our headquarters for TROVE in Aberdeen. Pause the video to have a look at the different maritime boundaries. Now, these two graphs are showing Europe oil production on top and Europe gas production on the bottom. The data is from the Energy Institute Statistical Review, and it clearly shows that the UK and Norway are the big oil and gas producers. Apologies to most Europeans who probably prefer metric units, but we tend to stick with standard oil pool units. That's millions of barrels of oil per day on top and billions of cubic feet per day on the bottom. Sometimes, of course, we use metric as well, but not on this occasion. If we look at just oil production, the top graph shows Norway, which peaked with about 3.4 million barrels of oil per day back in 2001 and declined to around about a level of just under 2 million barrels a day. But it's been pretty static, pretty steady now for well over a decade at around 1.9 million barrels. The UK, by contrast, it peaked at 2.9 million barrels. These scales are exactly the same in 1999, but there was a major decline. You can see it's gone right down. There was a minor recovery there, but worryingly, in the last 5 years, there's been a significant decline, and we see that that decline is just going to go on and get worse. Now, the story for gas is really quite a contrast. On the top graph, you can see Norway, which is kind of plateaued at a high level, around about 11.5 billion cubic feet of gas per day, whereas for the UK, well, it peaked around about 2000, a major decline, and yes, it has stabilized, but it's stabilized at around about 3.8 BCF of gas per day. Quite a contrast. Now, these differences in profiles, well, lots of spins are put on to explain what the differences are. It's said Norway has a much larger continental shelf. Yes, it does. Norway started later. Well, by a little bit, perhaps. Norway arguably has managed its licensing more efficiently, and that is that it's opened areas up, managed it a little bit better. And in the last decade or so, there's been several licensing rounds, as the APA round and the general rounds. So lots of acreage turnover in Norway. It is said that Norway is less mature, there's less wells. Well, yeah, this is true. There's still a lot of exploration that can be done over there. That's probably because that there were better financial returns in the UK historically. That can't be said anymore. Right now, I think Norway has a better fiscal regime than the United Kingdom. There are other differences, but really what we're talking about is two halves of the same basin. Now, yes, Norway has the Barents Sea and Norwegian Sea. The UK has contributions from the Irish Sea, a very, very small contribution from the onshore, excepting Witch Farm, of course, and then west of Shetland Isles. So, in today's video, well, we've concluded the introduction. We're now going to go and have a quick look at two case studies, really interesting discoveries here, Linnorm and Carmen. Then we're going to have a look at all the prospects in Norway's portfolio. There are quite a lot of them. We'll go on to look at the unlocked relinquishment reports and how we can look at those through TROVE, and then we'll look at making our own analytical tools within TROVE. So Linnorm has been described as the largest undeveloped gas field in Norway. Here's the background to it. You can see the map on the left showing it's a nice, easy sort of structure, a three-way dip, fault-bounded on the eastern side. Discovered by Shell back in 2005, it's in the Haltenbanken area of the Norwegian Sea. The first well found 180 meters of gas condensate in 6 reservoir units, some 5,000 meters below seabed. So this is quite a deep one. It's a potential gas development, and it's operated by Shell. It's about 50 kilometers northwest of the Draugen field. This is license PL255. The resource size, well, said to be some 31.7 billion cubic meters of contingent resource. That's about 1.1 trillion cubic feet. Again, contingent resource. Development thought to be, well, sort of 5 subsea wells within a water depth of about 300 meters. Now, the project, well, it's been through FEED. It's expected that there'll be first gas later this decade. Now, there are some significant technical challenges with this particular accumulation. It is sort of a dry gas, but it's got a high carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide content. It's a complex reservoir, and it's quite challenging. It's HPHT, that's high pressure, high temperature. It lies in the Eel, Toft and Tilger formations, which are early to middle Jurassic, of variable quality. Both standalone and tieback solutions have been studied. 800 bar pressure, 180 degrees centigrade, that's quite a lot of CO2, 30 ppm H2S, a high carbonate scale potential. So you can see the pipe here all sort of cemented up with some scale. There will have to be frequent well scale treatments, and there's also a propensity for hydrates and wax. So the well stream, the temperature will have to be kept above 30 degrees centigrade. So a number of challenges. In terms of the flow assurance, well, it will require that insulated flow line to keep the temperature above 30 degrees centigrade, which will probably mean direct electric heating for shutdown without depressurization. Now, you'll have to have methanol injection at unheated spools and risers during shutdown, so quite complicated process. A potential scale inhibitor injection through a subsea safety valve and upstream of the production choke. The flow line is probably going to be a 16-inch internal diameter with a 300 bar design pressure and a flowing wellhead temperature expected to be in the range 145 to 175 degrees centigrade. And there's the TROVE entry for Linnorm. So you get lots of information on this particular opportunity. Now moving on to Carmen, one of the largest discoveries in Norway for 10 years. Here's the location. Here's the troll field here, and over to the west, Gullfax and Kvitbjorn. Now here's Carmen. It was actually de-risked by the successors, Topand, which is, let me just point that out here. Here's Topand here, and also the Rover Nord, which is located here. So here's Carmen, and you can see the distances. These are in 10-kilometer circles back to the nearest infrastructure. Here's a seismic line as courtesy of CGG, and you can see very well imaged a nice tilted fault block or rotated fault block. And here's the interpretation here. We can see a layered reservoir with Brent, Oseberg and Cook formation. Now there's a range on reserves of some 9 to 46 million cubic meters of recoverable oil equivalent, which equates to somewhere between 57 and 290 million barrels of oil equivalent. Pause the video to look at the well results here, the details on them, but you can see significant hydrocarbon bearing intervals, predominantly gas condensate, gas-water contact in the Cook formation down at just over 4 kilometers. Again, here's the TROVE entry for Carmen. Now at this time we don't have too much other than the exploration well results, but as the appraisal and future development goes ahead, we update this, we keep it evergreen. So now moving on, we're going to have a look at the prospects in Norway, how Norway is realising its undrilled potential. So Ali Harding says the amount of and variety of subsurface data being made available is growing. Yes, it is. And in TROVE you will find every single relinquishment report from NPD and NOD that's been released over the years, all captured and all kept up to date. So why is Norway doing so well? Well, you can see here we've got a great pipeline complex linking up with several places across the EU and the UK. There is also active licenses all the way up from the Barents Sea all the way down through the Norwegian Sea into the North Sea, all the way down to the Danish border.
When comparing Norway against the UK, the old perception always was that exploring in Norway is relatively cheap, but you really pay when you go into the production phase. However, in the brave new world, that isn't necessarily the case anymore. You can see our recent videos on YouTube that give a detailed account on the state of the UK oil and gas industry currently, but essentially, Norway has become a better place to invest. It's less mature, there's been a lower drilling density, and the continental shelf is vast. They have a marginal rate of tax at 78%, but this includes multiple offsets and allowances. In fact, a very generous exploration offset so that 78 pence in the pounds are reimbursed in that same fiscal year. The UK has now said its marginal rate of tax is up to 78%. However, the offsetting allowances in the UK are likely to be removed in October 2024's budget.
In November 2021, the then NPD, the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate, now the Norwegian Offshore Directorate, began publishing relinquishment reports. There's hundreds of them. They can be searched through the fact pages on the NOD website. However, we've done something with them in Trove, and rather than just looking them up individually like you can see here at the bottom, we've collated them all, we've put them all together, we've sorted them, we've taken all the information out so that you can actually now search them by the stratigraphy found, you can search them by the result of the well, you can search by hundreds and hundreds of different things. We'll have a look at that in a little more detail. So here are the sorts of relinquishment reports that come out. Every single one of these we've captured in Trove. The prospect, here's some examples taken from Trove. They're unfamiliar names to many of us, but these prospects, well, they weren't in the public domain until the last few years. We have over 1,000 of them. The geographic reference, that's important. A lot of people from Trove take it into your internal GIS system so that you can find not just the license but the block and the latitude and longitude and actually make maps. So within Trove Norway we have 126 fields, 280 discoveries and over 1,000 prospects and leads. Now the sort of information and detail in there is quite astounding. So we stay up to date with all the prospects and leads coming out through these relinquishment reports, but as more get added we'll keep on adding them, and what we end up with is you can see these are all the leads and prospects that we have up and down the Barents Sea, the Norwegian Sea and the North Sea. So some examples. Well, here's the Nana prospect. This is what you get when you go into one of the relinquishment reports. You'll find this sort of information. Right down in the south on the Grensen Nose, down in the North Sea. That's the entry for Nana pages out of the relinquishment report, and you can get to this in a click of a button. Here's another example. This is Copenhagen. It's in block 34.9, which is up in the northern part of the North Sea. Thought to be a Frigg Basin floor sand, or fan sand, over 400 million barrels prospective resource. We have maps, we have a seismic amplitudes, and here's a seismic section. That's what you get in Trove. So all the information, all in one place, click of a button. Tannen prospect, up in the Norwegian Sea. Quite a broken up, compartmentalized prospect here. A tilted Jurassic fault block. It's in the northwest of the Norwegian Sea area. There's been few discoveries in this sort of area to date. That's the entry. Okay, not much more, but if this ever gets drilled, we'll be adding to it. Now looking at some hot new areas. Late 2022 and 2023 were a busy time for the Barents Sea. Vår Energy making discoveries at Kantach and Lupa, which is north of Duluth. There's several nearby prospects named after cars, apparently. There's also Equinor's cluster development west of Fram, the Ringvei Vest. It's essentially a staircase of fault blocks, tilted fault blocks, coming out from the Viking Graben and making its way up towards the Troll field. On the way, here was one of the discoveries here. Some of them have been dry, but quite a number have still to be tested. Together, there's potential for a hub development in this region. What about remaining opportunities? Well, questions that get asked are, well, did hydrocarbons migrate east of Fram and Troll down the bottom left of this map? And two prospects here, Kuro up in the Paleocene and Katana down in the Jurassic. Question, are they in a migration shadow? Did hydrocarbons actually make their way through into this area? Sadly, Trove can't answer that question, but we can show you all the detail and all the interpretation of Fram and of Troll and of Katana and of Kuro and of all the other opportunities and leads mentioned and shown on this map. Here's our dashboard showing all the prospects, discoveries, fields, leads, fluid type. We've got oil, gas condensate, gas, reservoir age. A lot of them are in the Jurassic, but we have all combinations down there. Years discovered is captured. The oil gravity we have for quite a few of them. The quadrants that they are in are shown here, and the porosity, the mode is in the range 20 to 25%. Here's the equivalent dashboard for the Barents Sea and Norwegian Sea. So having amassed all this prospect data from all the relinquishment reports, we think there's a great opportunity to do a sort of common risk analysis, really look at the data that's available for over 1,000 prospects and leads, and maybe work and come up with some maps, some interpretations, some findings that will be of use in future exploration efforts. There's lots of academic institutions out there who might have students looking for a project. If you are interested, please get in touch. The Norway success story seems to go from strength to strength. On the left, you can see back in 2021, Norway only accounted for 18.6%. Q3 2022, Norway was making over 25%. And the latest information we could find here, Norway's share of EU imports of gas, 30.3%. Very, very significant. So let's delve into TROVE and try and answer some of the hard questions that we've asked earlier. So I just want to do a quick demo of TROVE, and we're going to have a look at some data in the Barents and Norwegian Sea TROVE. So this is the northern part of Norway. We have another database for the Norway North Sea. You can see highlighted here in yellow, these are the prospects that have just been released by NOD. They're the relinquishment reports. We're in the process of putting them in, and you can see we've filled in some of the fields, but we've still got a fair way to go. Anyway, they'll all be sorted by the time you get to see this video. Every prospect and every field's in here. Now, I want to do a quick demonstration. So, we're interested in stratigraphic traps, and only stratigraphic traps. We've now just selected stratigraphic traps. Now, we're going to look at just the prospects, and they're all undrilled. And we're going to select, say, the Barents Sea, and we're going to select Jurassic. So we've got a very small list. That's fine. Let's have a look at the list. So first of all, we've got the Notten one. So here's a stratigraphic trap, lots of information. If you're looking at analogues for Jurassic stratigraphic trapped prospects, that's one. And here's Evans and the Sicilian, both on the same one. So pretty quick. Now then, we've just now decided, okay, we've had enough of that. Let's do a different search now, and I'm going to kind of make this one up on the fly. So I'm going to the top of the list here so we can see all these slices. Now we're going to actually add a slicer. We're going to add the simplified traps type, just to show you how easy it is to actually manipulate the data. But anyway, let's decide we're going to look at the Norwegian Sea. We're going to look at all the gas condensate, and we're going to look at only the fields. Here's Asgard. Fair amount of information on Asgard. You can see profiles here, the subsea development, all sorts of information, and it goes on over there. There's Asgard. Here's Kristen. And of course, you can't have a Kristen without a Kristen Saw. Mikkel. You can see there's got information on Mikkel. I understand what that's all about. Skarv. Tarahans. My Norwegian's not up to much. So there's an interesting one. So now if we turn off, and we're just interested in all fields, and we could say, look, we're only interested in, say, tilted fault blocks. Okay, we've got them here. Let's apply the filter. And maybe we're only interested in shallow ones. So we just want to take a whole handful of these, which explain a representative depth. That's fairly. We'll take it down to 2,500 meters subsea, that is. And let's apply that filter. So these are all the shallow Jurassic, all of them, the Norwegian Sea fields. Yes, we all know about Draugen, but here's our entry for Draugen. Quite a lot of information. We have also got Hydron. Lots of information for Hydron. Erd, one I'm not too familiar with at all, but here's Erd. Right, so I'm interested in prospects. I want to find something that's not been drilled, not been tested, and Carboniferous. Wonder where that is. Just one of them, Scrog. Scrog's in amongst this set of prospects. It's there and available. We could also perhaps go into clay. You see the it's only the one with this red arrow on it, the red cross. They're the ones that are actually active. So undrill. So we're saying we're interested in prospects. What else are we interested in? Well, I think I'm going to go on and show you how we can add another field to have a look at. Now I'd like to set up one of these slicers for the simplified trap type. Now what I'm going to do, just click somewhere in the table, insert. I'm going to insert a slicer. Here we go, there's a slicer. And I'm going to just find one that's called simplified trap type. There we go. And there we have it, it pops up. I'm going to take it up here. Well, I'm going to take it back over here to its resting place, as it were. Oops, just got a little problem because I've got a split screen on there, so it just has to go over the threshold, and then you've got to move it a second time. Now it's slightly different looking to the others. That's because we like to put them all in this dark blue. That's it. It's done. So if we wanted to rerun that query that we ran before, we put in stratigraphic traps, we put in Jurassic, we put in prospects, and we put in the Barents Sea, and lo and behold, boom, there we go. And we can just turn them all off, or we can go up here and clear. Job done. So if you remember our question, did hydrocarbons migrate east of Fram and Troll? There were two prospects we were particularly interested in. One Katana, Jurassic, the other one Kuro. So I know very little, next to nothing in fact, about this region. We're going to let Trove try and find us some data. So here we go, we flip on to the TROVE Norway North Sea asset, and you can see here lots and lots of fields and entries. You can see here's all our slices down here. I'm going to type in Kuro because it's shorter than Katana. So type that in, hit return, and lo and behold, here I am, I'm taken to Kuro. Now, I'm going to Kuro mainly for one reason, and that is I don't know what the block number is in Kuro. So here's the data for both Katana and Kuro, and it's 3512 and 313. Okay. So let's go back to our data table. It'd be a lot easier if we just sort of said 31 and 35. So we'll just get the 31 and 35 and just hit the... So these are the two quadrants that we have now. And now what I'd want to do is I want to go in and find 31, 3, and of course the block just immediately west of it is 31.2, and the other one was 35.12. And slightly out of order, you can see the way that's the block numbers, and that's the one to the west of it as well. So apply the filter, boom, there we go. Now here's a list of all the fields that we have in those 4 blocks. So if we want to see Fram, here's all the information on Fram. We can instantly get an idea, a picture of what's going on. We can actually look at the end of the field here, and maps show us what the structure is doing. Lots and lots of information on Fram. Likewise, we could go in and have a look at Troll. So Troll down here, oh, there's the oil in Troll. And we've got a fair amount of information. Just have a look at the structure. Are there any maps in here? Well, you get an idea from here what's going on. And this is a very, very big entry for Trove. So we've got Troll, but let's just say we want to have a look at just the tertiary. When we've got a syncline between 2 fields, so we've got Troll and Fram, there's going to be a saddle or a syncline between the two, and so it's very difficult to see how at Jurassic level we're going to be able to migrate hydrocarbons through that gap without it leaking up to the side into one of those 2 fields. However, let's say for now we're interested in seeing, well, could we actually get it into the overlying tertiary? Now, let's have a quick look here. Here's a prospect that is called Black Look. Sorry about the pronunciation, guys. And we can see how this works, and we can see indeed there are some major faults that go through the section and could actually migrate hydrocarbons up. So there's one that might be worth a look at. Likewise, Casio. Well, it's one of these. There are quite a few of them, so we'd have to spend a little bit of time finding what Casio is. But Kuro, yeah, we know all about Kuro. And yeah, Persei is one of these. So here's 4 tertiary prospects in and around. We can start looking, can we make a play out of leaking hydrocarbons out of the Jurassic system into the tertiary and get that oil past Troll and Fram and over to the east, so that we can kind of convince ourselves that there is not a migration shadow. And finally, remember about our YouTube channel. We've got lots of videos out there. You can see here just a list of them. We can go down, and this is entirely searchable. What we can do in here is we can go for a search. We can search Ekofisk, for example, and you can find our Ekofisk video, which is here. We've had 6,200 views, and it's 30 minutes long. There are others in there as well. Have a look at Trove, and you can see some of those interesting titles down there. Some of them prove to be very, very popular. Different countries, Indonesia, some educational ones. Learn about China. What's its oil and gas all about? Brazil. What's been happening there? Why is Venezuela such a basket case? Some great field examples like the Jubilee field, a world-class oil field offshore Ghana. Lots on UK stuff. There was a time when it was actually quite popular. Not so much today. Some dry holes actually in there. Learn about Nigeria, the Niger Delta. Fascinating place. Some great photos in the amazing geology section. And here, another one, the giant Johan Sverdrup. Well, today we're going to take a look at the Johan Sverdrup field. It's the third largest field in Norway after Statfjord and Ekofisk. So there you go. That's been quite a popular field. Over 1,000 views on it, and it's been going for about a year. Add a comment below. We'll actually see your new comments, and we can add to it and update it if necessary. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. There's the website. Get in touch by email. Hope to hear from you soon. See you back on our channel before too long. Bye for now.